Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Really Heal podcast. Today, I have a wonderful guest with me, April. April is a mammy, and she's going to share her lived experience story with us today. Thank you very much, April, for agreeing to come on and do the podcast with me today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. And with that, we'll jump straight in. How are you this fine morning? We're having a nice little burst of sunshine. I know that always puts a bit of a pep in my step anyway, but how are you?
I'm not too bad. You can tell with the ginger hair now, I tend to stay away from the sun.
Okay. Good stuff. So, listen, we'll jump straight in. And as I said, really looking forward to hearing your story. It is a powerful story. So, if you can just bring us back to, to the beginning. Where did it all begin for you?
The beginning was before me.
Hmm.
My story is one of generational abuse that started long before I was even thought of. Um, my family, originally from Dublin, I had a grandmother who married a lovely man. He was an alcoholic, but he was a lovely man. And she had her children, and it was a typical Irish family, very large family, a two-tier family of accounts. You know, the way there's the older children, then the younger children. Her eldest son was the apple of her eye, and I don't know, and I have tried to find out. I have struggled to find out the reasons why, but he was allowed to abuse not just his sisters, but everybody. And I mean, sexually, emotionally, mentally, physically, he was allowed to do it. His mother, my grandmother, was a very cruel woman, to say the least. And yeah, that's where it all started. So I think that abuse, like I said, it was generational, it was inherent, it was within the family, and it was constant. And everybody in that family found their own way to kind of escape it, including my mother. She fell pregnant with me to try and trap a man, as often done, but he didn't want to know, and she ended up marrying a friend, we'll say, who wasn't my father, but who raised me. And they went on, they got married, they had four children, including myself. But my mother was a narcissist, struggling with her own trauma, her own abuse story, and she wasn't really fit as a mother. So she kind of gave me to her mother, my grandmother, as often as she could, especially when I was younger. And that's where my abuse kind of happened. Well, my sexual abuse kind of happened. She allowed her son to abuse me. Other than that, I kind of grew up in a house where my mother was cold, unloving towards me, to me and my siblings. I can't really, like, there's no words to describe how bad it was. There was neglect, there was poverty, there was the narcissistic abuse, the emotional, the mental abuse. She was an incredibly cold woman, especially to me. And later on in life, she was diagnosed with being bipolar. And those times where I was in contact with her, because she was in and out my life for a long time. And then we had a very open and honest conversation, and it was like, it was, she struggled during that conversation. She struggled with the weight of what she had done, and I could see it. And I consoled her wrongly. I should have looked after myself. I consoled her. And her exact words in that conversation were, I couldn't love you. You were just too hard to love, too difficult to love. And I said, I'm very sorry. So that kind of went, that's an outline, a very brief outline of
Hmm.
the childhood. Um, when I was 18, my father, the guy who raised me, the man who married my mother, died. It was suicide. And after that, my mother's abuse of me turned horrific, absolutely horrific. She encouraged me to take my own life on the pretense that it was better for everybody that I wasn't there, on the pretense that everybody would be happy if I wasn't there. Now, during this time, she was seeking counselling for my siblings with a well-known charity who were incredibly good, I have to say. That counselling was for suicide, the suicide of their father. That counsellor realised that there was another child in the house, me, and invited me to come along. Those counselling sessions went on and went on, and eventually the counsellor said, well, let's just do you and your mother. So we had a couple of sessions, just me and my mother, and the counsellor knew something was very, very wrong, and she removed me from that home. I turned up one day at counselling, and she said, I have a place ready for you. She had talked it through with my mother, and my mother, in her own delirium, thought, she was removing me because I was the problem. But she said, no, you're not safe there. You're most definitely not safe there. So I moved out. After that, I found my footing, been through counselling all my life. And now I have a lovely family. I have a home. I have a relatively average, normal life. And I'm extremely grateful for it. That is the very brief, very, very brief outline of my story.
A brief synopsis of a huge story, you know.
Yeah. During all that abuse, I rationalized it in my own head, and I understood why my mother didn't love me or chose me out of my siblings to be, kind of separated and abused in such a horrible way. In my head, I rationalized all that abuse by saying I was a failed escape plan, because I was. My mother tried to escape her own family by getting pregnant with me, and it didn't work. She got second best. She didn't get what she wants. So I rationalized all that abuse and felt during all that time that it was okay for her to abuse me. I rationalized her thought process instead of looking after my own.
Can you tell me, when did you first realise that you had a choice to be you, I suppose? What stage or at what age of life were you? What were the circumstances in that, you came to the realisation that you were your own person, I suppose, had your own independence and you could live your life the way you wanted to?
Well, ironically, I think it was probably because my mother was a narcissist, and we all know what narcissistic abuse is like. They separate you, they make them as much as you need air to breathe. It's coercive control, it's everything, it's like the worst of the worst. So ironically, that abuse separated me from her in a weird way. I understood that I was different from a very, very young age. And in saying that, I understood that I was, first of all, different from the rest of my family. I had red hair and they didn't. So I kind of knew that I was completely, fish out of water there. And the other way I understood I was different was I knew it was wrong. I felt like it was wrong. I felt I had so much love to give. Why doesn't anybody love me? I really did.
Yeah.
And during that time, and from a very, very young age, I did things to protect myself. And the way I protected myself was I withdrew inwards. We all talk about, the kick of serotonin that a hug or cuddle gives a person. That should be there from a very, very young age. That attachment to your parents, to your mother, to your father. And I did not have that. So I withdrew inwards. And it was largely maladaptive daydreaming that kind of helped me in those very, very young years. I mean, I was labelled as a stupid child. I was labelled as ditzy, not really there, not willing to try, because I didn't think I deserved anything better. And how I coped with all that was I went inwards. I went into my own little mind. I became my own little, person in there. And in a weird way, it did save me. It did save me. And that's where there were the first steps in saving myself. Funny story, like back then, I still remember the dreams that I used to have. I used to pretend I was a boy because in my head, I often thought that I wasn't loved because I was a girl. I often heard that, my father's firstborn son was amazing, was brilliant, and he was my brother. He was like born after me. But I attributed him being loved to being a boy. So I used to dream that I was a little boy. And this little boy would have a suit of armor made out of a dustbin. And I can remember it so, so vividly. I had black hair, not red, because everybody pointed out my red hair. I was different from the rest of the family, including my mother and my father. Everybody pointed it out. But I had black hair, I had little arms, I had little legs, and I was wearing this dustbin suit of armour. And I can remember it so vividly. I remember the helmet was the lids, and I had little air holes going down the front. I had little arms, I could put my hands out and pull them in when, I didn't want to be seen. And in my mind, in my dreams, what would happen was the adults would be there and the adults would be talking, and there would be a problem, a big problem. And there in the corner of the room would be this little dustbin with its little head stuck in, and no arms, no legs, yeah, just a little dustbin. And then out I would pop as this little boy, this little superhero in a dustbin, and I would solve the problems. And it gave me the kick of serotonin that, we all feel when we're loved. We all feel when we're needed. We all feel through physical touch. I was like a drug. I could feel it working in my brain. And it helped me, it protected me, it saved me. So
Mm,
I thank that little boy. I do thank that little boy.
mm,
Again, as an adult, I can rationalize it now. Doesn't mean it was right. It most definitely was not right. But it saved me. It
mm,
really did save me.
mm.
So
The
that's when I kind of realized when things were wrong, when things were different.
the self-preservation mode
Yeah.
in us is incredible at times. I know that from my own, I suppose, past experiences, but certainly working with others as well. And you've obviously done some inner child work
Oh, yes.
over the years. But to be able to identify that, I suppose, and pull that out, it's a powerful piece in getting to know ourselves, and something that comes up a lot in the work I do with people is, there's three things that we're born with. Um, we need to be nurtured as an infant, we need to be held, and we need to be loved. And whether we
Mm,
recognize it or not, we carry those three needs with us right the way through up into
of
adulthood.
course.
Um, and difficult to get a man to admit to that, because
True.
big boys don't like to, they stick the chest out and say everything is all right. Why is the suicide rate in men so huge?
Yeah.
And that self love piece, they put it down to something that's airy fairy, or oh, that's not for me, that's not my thing. But those three needs, that to be held, to be loved, and to be nurtured, every infant child needs it,
You
and it,
have it.
it never leaves
A
us.
basic right for a
Yes.
child. It's
Yeah.
as much as food, water, and clothing. It is a basic right, a
Yeah.
basic need for a child to be loved. And when you are not loved in that environment, you can either fail to thrive. We've often heard
Yeah.
that word being used, failure to thrive, or we can go inwards and kind of preserve yourself. Now, while I was doing that inwardly, there was outwardly things that I did to preserve myself. Like I said, food was always an issue in our house, and like we can talk about the cycle of abuse, but there's also the poverty cycle
Mm.
as well, a cycle of poverty, and we were very much caught in that. My parents did not work, never worked. And there was once actually when we were extremely young, it was myself and my brother, so it was only two of us in the house, two children. So I wouldn't have been more than six, and he wouldn't have been more than three. And I knew come a certain time of the week, the day before Dole Day, that there'd be no food in the house. And what would usually happen was we'd be told to go to bed early, that it is very, very good for us. Our system's going to have a good clean out. And, it was all put in, this is brilliant for us. This is making us strong individuals. But all I knew was I was hungry and my brother was hungry. So what I did one week was the shopping came in. I took two packets of biscuits, two packets of rich tea biscuits, and I hid them in my bedroom. And come the next week, that day before Dole Day, when we were absolutely starving, and I'm talking not a slice of bread, not a piece of butter, nothing for dinner, absolutely nothing but water, I pulled out those biscuits. And I felt proud for doing it because in my mind it wasn't for me, it was for my brother. He was starving. I wanted to look after him. But they gave out to me for it. My mother, she remembered the exact look on her face. She looked disgusted. How dare I show her up for being a bad mother by pulling out this food,
Mm.
by rationing this food and keeping this food for my brother? How dare I do this? But in my eyes, all I saw was my brother was hungry, and I loved him, and I didn't want him to be hungry.
Mm.
So that's what I did. So there were our ways, inwardly and outwardly, that we protect ourselves while we're younger.
So previously, I suppose, when you were separated from the family, had you still contact with the siblings? What's the relationship with them
Well,
like
what happened
today?
was,
Or
oh, that's a difficult one. So what
mm,
happened was I had been removed from the home, understandably. Like before that, I had actually woken up one night and I found my mother over my bedside with an iron in her hands, telling me that if I didn't kill myself, she was going to do it for me. And that's why I was removed from the home. I was in physical mortal danger. And I can still picture the actual iron. I can still see the cord was black and white. It was fabric around the cord, like a netting. It was a really old, heavy iron.
mm,
That's why I was removed from the home. And what happened after that was I knew I knew that all that anger, all that horror, all that horrible venomous words out of her mouth would be directed at somebody else in the house. And
mm,
I felt incredibly maternal for my two brothers and my sister at that stage. I referred to them as their kids. I was not their mother. I do realize that now.
mm,
But then I felt incredibly maternal for them. I wanted them to be safe. I wanted to help them. So I bumped into them um, in the square in Tallaght, funnily enough. Bumped into one of them. I said, look, I'm going to come up at the weekend. I'm going to take you out. Myself and my partner, we had a flat in town. I'll show you the flat. I'll get you out. You come and see me. And I'm still here. If you need anything, I am there. And he said, yeah, yeah, yeah. I turn up then on the Saturday and my mother wouldn't let me through the door. And there was no noise from the house within. I didn't know where the kids were. She physically blocked the door. She pushed me away. So I called the guards. I called the guards for a welfare check on her.
mm,
The guards went up, they spoke to her, and the next thing I knew, I got a barring order. She had said that I had tried to kill her. When that went to family court, as it did back then, I still remember the day, I was in bits at this stage. I was nearly close to having a nervous breakdown. I couldn't string a sentence together. Just tears, sobbing. And I mean, like, we've all seen people that cry, but when you're actually sobbing, when it's coming from so deep within that you can't catch your breath. I was like that. I was a wreck. And the family judge heard what I had to say, took one look at my mother and said, there's no way. She knew exactly what was going on. There was no way that child there tried to kill you. No way. And she directed that I should have contact with my siblings. So my siblings were in and out of my life after that. And I mean in and out because there would be times where my mother would be in and out with them. They always remained with her. As much as I tried to help, when you're in that situation, your mother is your be all and your end all. And when your mother is narcissistic, she makes you believe that even more. And I couldn't
mm,
break that spell with them. So they were in and out of my life for a long, long time. Um, I'd like to say now that as an adult, they all had their own individual problems. They do. But I tried to help as much as I could. I always made myself available for them, but they were in and out of my life so many times, and I felt so much guilt over them. I always said I'd be there for them. I always said I'd try to help them whatever way I could, but I couldn't. Like, it's so hard to put into words. You can't break that spell when someone, your parent is your parents, your be all and your end all. When they're your parent in that situation, they're more than that. There's no
of
way,
course.
like, there's more. I can't put it into words.
Mm,
And I couldn't take them away from that because I would have been the bad person. I couldn't say, right, look,
yeah.
and I didn't have the means. I was living in a one-bedroom flat in town. I didn't have the means to take three children with me, so I couldn't, but I always made myself available for them.
Mm,
And with that came an awful lot of guilt.
yeah.
Guilt that took me years to kind of break the feeling that, yes, I was maternal to them, but I'm their sister, I'm not their mother. And that took
Yeah.
years to break. I am their sister, I am not their mother. And as awful as it is for a young person to look after their siblings, you have to in that situation. I shouldn't have been in that situation. They shouldn't have been in that situation, but I shouldn't have been in that situation. I shouldn't have been a parent to them. They had parents.
Mm,
So yeah, it took years to break that kind of spell, and it was counselling that did it. The spell of guilt, the spell of being maternal towards them.
very difficult situation for you, I suppose, definitely, and even more so as the oldest child, you know,
Yeah.
and it is that piece, isn't it, of yes, you care, yes, you love them, but
Yeah.
not your job also,
No,
as much as we want to take it on board. Um,
that's healing in itself, realizing that it's not your job.
yeah,
And when I say that's a tough spell to break, it's an incredibly tough spell to break. There has to
mm,
come a point in your life where you turn around and you say, right, I am not the parent here. I
mm,
was a victim just as
mm,
much as they were,
yeah.
but I am not responsible for them. And at a certain point, as they go into adulthood, they have to be responsible for themselves.
Something that comes up time and time again when I'm working with people is, you know, when our focus is mainly on trying to help and support and heal and fix the other person, um, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's your brother or your sister or your son or daughter, your partner, whoever it is,
Yeah.
um, we forget to look after ourselves as
Oh
much.
God,
You
yeah.
know, it slows down our own healing path and our own healing journey. And I suppose a phrase that I find myself using quite a lot is, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup.
No.
Very difficult to help others and support others if I'm not 100% myself. Um, and I suppose, tell me a little bit about that, maybe, as to how that did it affect you. Did it slow you down? Did it take the focus off you needing to do your own
I
piece of
didn't have
work? Or
focus on me, but this is it. I did not have focus on me. My
mm,
focus was them. Wrongly. Because, like I said, I was not their mother.
mm,
I was not responsible for them. But they were solely my focus for such a long, long time.
mm,
And being honest, as much as the guilt of, you have survivor's guilt and the guilt of getting away and all the rest, there's also this kind of nagging thing within yourself that kind of says, well, if I focus on me, I'm a bad person.
yeah,
Because that's what you've been told. You've been told you're a bad person. So my focus must be on them. It's not on me. I can't focus on me. Sure, not worth it. Like,
yeah,
a good person would focus on everybody else. They wouldn't focus on themselves. And it took me an awful long time to realize that. An
mm,
awful long time and a hell of a lot of counseling. Child as well. I was a child in my own right.
yeah,
And I suppose one of the things that did help me to realize that was they became adults at some stage.
mm,
And you can't help those who don't want to be helped.
yeah. That's right.
As much as you try to be there and as much as you try to guide,
Mm,
you can't help those who don't want to be helped. And while you're caught in a trap when they're younger, they're underage, the parent is with them, their parent should be their main focus and everything else in life. And like when you're caught in that trap of having a narcissistic parent,
mm,
you are truly helpless. But once you become an adult, there has to be drive in yourself to help yourself.
yes.
And I had to realize that for them and for me.
Was that a? Do you think that was a progressive thing that just happened over time with you, or was there any particular defining moment? Was there a kind of a penny drop moment?
There was a defining time, but before that, there was boundaries set all along the way.
Mm,
There had to be boundaries set up by me to
yeah.
protect myself all along the way. Like my mother was in and out of my life, and when she was in my life, everything would be perfect to start with.
Mm,
And then it'd be back to the usual narcissistic kind of games, the pitting one child off against the other, the constantly criticizing the other children, constantly criticizing my brothers and my sisters to me, but not to them. To them, she would be criticizing me.
yeah.
It was
Mm,
literally one against the other. So yeah, there wasn't one. No, there was one defining moment. I suppose it was when I had children. So they
mm,
had been in and out of my life for a long time, but that one boundary that set the ball rolling for me was having children. And I decided that they were worth more, that they deserved better. not that I deserved better, that they deserved better. And I suppose a lot of times in kind of your healing journey, you kind of hear fake it till you make it. Tell yourself you're worth it. Tell yourself this, tell yourself that, until you actually believe it,
Yeah.
until you break those behaviors. And for me, for a long time, that's exactly what it was.
Mm.
I built a happy home. I built a clean home. I built a home where all the presses are always full. I built an open and honest home where we could talk, we could have discussions, and I built relationships with them, and a comfortable home, not because I deserved it, but because they did.
Mm.
And being honest with you, I'm only just now starting to realize that yes, I deserve it too.
Of course.
It's fake it till you make it. I made a happy home for my children because they deserve so much more.
Mm.
But now I'm starting to realize that yes, I deserve it too.
Yeah.
I do. But that boundary, that one moment, no, there wasn't one defining particular moment. It was boundary set all along the way. And
Mm.
most of them revolved around my children,
Mm.
not about me. Always felt that I wasn't worth it. Always felt that I wasn't worth it. You know, when it came to my children, they were. In a way, they kind of saved me. They did save me.
Mm. Did your partner have a big influence in all of that?
My partner is incredibly supportive. My partner has a very loving family. My partner, we slag him off for being normal. We do actually, where's your trauma type thing, because sometimes you just have to laugh. My partner, like I said, an incredibly normal family, very loving family and a very supportive family. And while he didn't fully understand what was going on with my family, he always supported me. Um, if I said, look, somebody has contacted me, I think we need to have a chat here. He'd say, yeah, but, you know, it's not going to be like last time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not going, you can't help them. There's no way you can help them. So he would always support me. He'd never deny me trying to get that contact and trying to strive to have that relationship that was never there with them.
Mm.
Um, yeah. But he's fully supportive, fully supportive. And so are my children. Even now, like they're all heading towards adulthood. And yeah, I think they're fully, they understand why I have no contact with them,
Yeah.
and they're fully supportive of that.
Mm. Yeah. But certainly from my own life, you know, my daughter came along, things really changed
Change.
in
Yeah.
perspective. And it's funny, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, for them feeling guilty or feeling ashamed of what had happened to them as a child, as if it was their fault. Um, and the perspective change was when they had their own children and looked at
Yeah.
their own children and said, if something had happened to them at that age, would they be responsible? No, of course not.
No.
And then it was the penny drop moment for them that they realised, okay, I had no part in this really. There's no onus, there's no responsibility on me. I don't need to be ashamed or guilty or, you know, oh, well, I deserved it or any of that stuff. And that was kind of one of the defining moments for them. And, you know, I think that happens quite a lot with people, that it takes a few years into adulthood before you have the real realization that I didn't cause any of
Yeah.
this. I was a child. I was an innocent
Yeah.
child that this should have never happened to. Okay, it did. You know, there's no magic wand, can't erase the past. Uh, but that being said, there's no onus on me. I don't have any responsibility. And it's okay for me to feel the way that I feel as a result of what happened. You know.
Yeah. That's
Um,
the thing about complex trauma is it will stay with you for life. When we talk about healing or being really
yeah.
healed, it
Mm,
stays with you for life. There is no end game where, okay, you get the all clear.
mm,
You're all clear of this. There
yeah.
is no, it's not like a cancer. It's not like an illness. It
Yeah.
will stay with you for life. And at certain stages of your life, your trauma will change.
Mm,
What you focus on in that trauma will be completely different to what you focused on before.
yeah.
And it will keep reoccurring. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because if you are, you know, able to face it and work through it, you grow from it. You will constantly grow from it.
Yeah.
But it will always change. Your trauma will grow with you and change with you, and the parts on it that you focus on will change as you grow older and what's
Yeah.
going on in your life.
Mm.
It's like a garden. I'm a big gardener. I love my garden. And I love my garden because days that, you feel stagnant and you feel like you haven't moved and you feel absolutely terrible, you can still see growth out there,
Mm.
growth that you have caused. And when you take on a project in a garden, when you do a flower bed or anything like that, it needs to be tended to. It's not one job and it's done.
Yeah.
It will need to be tended to as those plants grow
Mm.
and develop and change with the seasons. It will need to be tended to. Your healing is the same. It will always need to be tended to. But
Mm.
that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to hold you back. It
Yeah.
will always be there. But so are you.
It's a lovely analogy, that the analogy of the rose, you know.
Mm,
And we look at the rose, and such a beautiful flower, and if you pick it and squish it up, you can even make beautiful perfume out of it, and
agree.
such a beautiful thing. And we forget sometimes that it's also full of thorns, and
Yeah.
usually grows best when it grows up through the shite.
Yeah.
So you often hear of people using horse manure or something like that on their roses. And we forget about the shite that we have to grow through and the thorns in life. Um,
This is it. You kind of have to own your trauma,
yeah,
don't you? It's like a
of
lot of people
course.
spend years trying to run from it, and that doesn't help anybody. You own your trauma. You treat it like manure and you grow from it. You have to own it fully. You have to accept that this has happened. Yes, but look, you got through it. You're standing today. It doesn't mean that you have to have, a fantastic life, a brilliant house, the job, the money, the car, the boyfriend, the girlfriend. It doesn't mean that. It just means you're standing up today. Well done, you. You
Yeah.
have made it. It's different
There's
for everybody, but today you've made it.
of course, there's an image sometimes, or my friends might have a bit of a slag, and they think that trauma healing is a bit guru-y, and you have to be a bit hippy dippy and airy fairy and all that kind of stuff. When it's the complete opposite, I think you need to be a little bit of have the warrior spirit in you somewhere
Oh, Jesus.
to battle through. And have a T-shirt that says, "This is a journey, not a destination."
Yeah.
Um, and I love what you said there. About it can rear its ugly head in so many different ways over the years, where you think, okay, I'm over that now, I have that piece done, and then it comes back, and it could be the smell of something or a deja vu in a place where you're going, hang on a minute, why did that bring all this back to me here? Or the taste of something, all the senses, and the awareness. Once you have the awareness around it and you're willing to be able to let yourself go through the process of the healing, that's definitely one of
Doesn't mean you're
the key
weak.
pieces. Definitely doesn't, no, not at all. In
Mm.
fact, some of the bravest souls I've ever met are people that are very willing to face themselves. A phrase I heard many years ago was, you can't run from your own shadow. Your shadow's never
No,
too far behind you.
no,
And
it's always there.
the gentleman used to say frequently, turn and face the shadow. Don't try and run from it. Be the brave soul and face it. Um, and I suppose it's when we get the courage to be able to do that the real work, uh,
Yeah,
we begin to see the benefits of it,
yeah.
rather than the peace running away. I suppose you talked about there, your kids and building the home and the differences and things like that. Was that a struggle for you? Was it life ambition to say it'll just never be, or it'll be the complete opposite, I suppose, of the way I was reared and the way I was brought up? And what does that look like for you today, I suppose?
what's that look like today? It looks like normal life. It looks like everybody else's life. It looks like, bills to pay, dishes in the sink, running here, there, and everywhere, dropping kids here, there, everywhere, school, work, what's for dinner today. It's, do you know what? And that's such a blessing because I sound stupid, but I didn't have that growing
Mm.
up, that family life, that bit, and that's exactly what it looks like today. That is what success looks like to me today, is just normal family life,
Yeah.
because when everything's so abnormal, the normality is just a luxury. It
Mm.
really is just a luxury to have. Um, my children, I can't say enough about them. They're each individually crazy, and they're so independent and mature for their age. I know every parent kind of goes on about their children, they're amazing, but to me, that in itself is Jesus, that is amazing. Because when you grow up in a home where you're afraid to be individual, or those individual things that make you you are often used against you, like the color of your hair, or who you like, who you don't like, what
Mm.
you're into, just for them to be so comfortable within their own skin is beautiful, is absolutely beautiful. Healing hasn't been easy. It will never be easy. And I think one of the main things that I've struggled with over the years is, those times when it really gets to you, when you're really down low. I struggle with that because I feel like I'm a burden. When you've had to be so strong for such a long, long time, those days when you feel like you have to rely on somebody else is very hard.
Mm.
So family life now is amazing. It is amazing. I know I have that support. I know on those days that I'm feeling crap, I have my family around me. I know when I look at those four walls, and the bills that need paying and the average things, I'm blessed to have them. I
Mm.
shouldn't be here in this situation. And by that, I mean the cycle of abuse is so easy to slip into as we go through our adult lives, like finding the wrong partner, ending up in the same kind of, abusive situation again and again, and then, releasing that on your children and them going through the same thing. I've broken that.
Mm.
And I'm proud to say I've broken that.
Mm.
And everything is just normal, is just as everybody else's lives are. And that is a blessing. That is not lost on me. That's Jesus, that's
Mm.
amazing. It's amazing to be able to say that.
There's going to be people that will listen into this. One of the things about a podcast is we sit here today and we record it, and then it goes up online, and it sits there forevermore. And we forget the people that'll listen to this in 3 months' time, or 6 months' time, or 9 months' time, or 3 years' time. I don't know, whenever. But if there was somebody that was listening in, um, and maybe they've had a similar experience, or they could identify with anything in any way, um, you know, what would you say to them? What would your message to them be?
Well, the mere fact that you're listening to this, the mere fact that you've sought something like this out to listen to, whether it's this or whether it's another podcast or an
Mm.
inspirational quote or anything else, the mere fact that you've done that means that you are ready. You know something is wrong there. You know something has happened that was not right, and you are ready to start healing, that you are ready to push through it. It's not easy. I mean, I can see here and I can tell you, like, I have a home, I have three children, I have the normality that I so cherish.
Mm.
But that's not my dark days. There are
Yeah.
days when, it's very hard to lift yourself up off the floor,
Mm.
because you're caught in that complex trauma that brings you back to, like, an emotion even, or a scent or a place or whatever it is that's stuck in your mind and festers. There are those days, but the mere fact that you're seeking this out, the mere fact that you have clicked on something that says really healed, means that you're ready to start healing.
Mm.
You are, like, It's not an easy journey. And your outcome may look completely different, or what you want to achieve may look completely different to what I have.
Mm.
But you'll get there. You will get there. Fake it till you make it, as they say.
Mm.
Tell yourself that, because I can't emphasize this enough. I built the home. I built the family life. I built the normality because my children deserved it, not because I deserved it, not because little me deserved it, because my children deserved it. And it's only now, at the age of 47, that I'm starting to realize that yes, I deserve this. I mean, there is a little bit of disassociation there,
Yeah.
sitting in the four walls looking, going, Jesus Christ, this is mine. But yes, I deserve this. And don't get me wrong, I don't have much. Like I said, it's normal. But I deserve normality, and so do you.
Yeah.
So do you.
Mm. Well said. What would your daily or weekly routine look like today in terms of, I suppose, self care and self love and your own journey? Is there anything in particular that you like to do or you find really works
I
for
love the
you?
garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, the garden. Because those days when you're not grown, those days when you are dark, first of all, you have a quiet space to go to.
Mm.
Secondly, you can see growth that you have caused. I caused that flower to bloom because I put a seed in the ground 6 months ago. I did that. And my daily life, what does that look like? Like I said, it looks like family life. It looks like family life. And yes, I am triggered. I work with children, which is probably the worst job in the world to have when you've been, so badly abused and suffer from such traumatic,
Mm.
trauma and PTSD. It's triggering, but at the same time, it allows me to be a child myself. It allows me to go and play, do what you have to do. A few years ago, a year ago, I would say, a year ago, do you know, I was sleeping in the bed and I had, I think, 4 or 5 very large squishmallows around me. I built a fort around me every night going to bed because at that time I was in the midst of a Garda investigation, because I reported the guy that abused me. And it's what I needed at that time. And I'm unashamed to say it. I needed to build a fort in my bed with teddy bears to feel safe. So I did it. I
Yeah.
did it. Even my husband's now was a bit, where am I going to fit in the bed? But sod it. I did it. Do what you need to do. Find that joy where you can find it and cherish those moments, whether it's gardening, whether it's playing with a child, whether it's, Lego is always a good one because it gives you time to, rest your brain while focusing on something else. Tetris is amazing because it allows you to decompartmentalize, to put
Yeah.
boxes into little shapes.
Yeah.
That focus is, Jesus, it's amazing. Don't do it with shame. Be unashamed of those things that make you happy, that bring you joy, even if they are ridiculous. I was in Woody's the other day. I bought a set of bubbles. I'm going to play with them next week when my son's off camping at the moment. When he comes back, I'm going to play with those bubbles. It's the ones with the gloves, the ones that you can actually
Mm.
hold.
Yeah.
I'm going to play with those bubbles and I'm going to have a good old time.
Mm.
Be unashamed because in this life, take joy where you can find it.
Yeah.
Take that joy and enjoy it. And don't be ashamed while doing it because it's all part of your healing journey. And if you, like me, need to build a fort of teddy bears to feel safe,
Mm.
do it. And fake it till you make it. Tell yourself you deserve it because one day you'll actually believe that you do.
Mm.
Because we all do.
The brain is plasticity. It can be changed, I suppose. And when it's been formed one way, once you become aware of it, that it's no good for you, or that it was a lie, or that you took somebody else's perception on board, and believed it as your own. It's powerful
You
to
said
know
that,
that.
that the brain is plasticity. Like, I don't know much about the complex structures of the brain, but what I
Mm.
do know is that when you're in that kind of a situation, part of your brains don't actually grow, they shrivel up.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they're lost forever. You can
Yeah.
put that love back into them and get them to grow again. And I know we keep going back to plants, but it's like a plant,
Mm.
like in this weather, that is drenched with, you know, sweat that needs a little drink. When you give it that drink, it starts to flourish again. It's your
Yeah.
brain is the same. Your brain can, you know, heal itself and heal those actual physical structures that weren't given what they needed when you were younger.
Mm.
They can recover.
Yeah.
They can actually recover.
Yeah. If you were able to talk to yourself as a young girl again, what would the message be that you would give to yourself?
Oh God, what would I say to her? I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're in this situation. That's the first thing I would say to her is I am very sorry you're in this situation, but it's not your fault.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a boy to be loved. You don't have to be helpful to be loved. You're just in the wrong place, but you will get there. You will get there. Someday, I used to say, like, I love the stars, absolutely love the stars.
Mm.
And I used to go to bed every night looking, like, with the curtains completely open, nothing on the window, always watching the stars. And I used to say to myself, same stars, different place. Now, I used to say that to myself as a very young child. Same stars, different place. And I've always said to myself, same stars, different place. And that means that sometime you'll be looking at those stars, but you will be in a very, very different place. And now I am. I'm looking at the same stars at night, but I am in a very, very different place. I'm very sorry it happened to me. I'm very sorry it happened to my siblings. Which some people go through these things and survive, and I am one of them.
Yeah.
And I'm not sorry for that.
Mm.
I'm not sorry for that. I have survived. I was a child. It was not my fault. And for anybody else listening out here, you have to realize that as a child, you are not responsible for your environment, for the actions of others, and especially for the actions of adults. Someday you'll be out of that place and you'll realize exactly how wrong it was. Same stars, different place. For anybody listening, someday you look at those stars, you'll be in a completely different place.
When you're in a situation like that, you think it's never going to end, it's never going to change,
Yeah.
it's never going to be different. And then when you're able to look back, I suppose, and reflect on it, yeah, how different it can be. Just time, a little bit of time.
Do you ever look back and reflect? I mean, like if you're sitting in your sitting room and you look at the four walls and you think, Jesus, do you remember what it was like? And just thank yourself for how far you've come.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever actually done that? Just sat in the lovely mess that you've created now, you know, the washing piling up, the dishes in the sink, the floors unswept, and think, oh my God, yes, the floors are unswept. The place is relatively clean. And
Yeah.
yes, the washing is undone. Jesus, we have washing to do. We didn't have before. And the food, yes, there's plates in the sink, but there's also food in the press. Look how far you've come.
Yeah.
It's like, it's amazing. If you actually sit with yourself for a few minutes, meditate in what you have now and think back to where you came from.
Yeah.
For anybody, it's a step up. For those people in our situation, it's more than a leap.
Yeah.
It's a leap of faith, but it's more than a leap.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Do you think through the experiences that you've had, and you mentioned, I suppose, your job and your work now, number one, you'd be able to spot if there was something going on with a child a million times quicker maybe than somebody that hadn't, lived experience. People with lived
Yeah.
experience who have been through something similar or along those lines, and the benefit that can carry with it.
I work with children. I worked with children from the ages of 1 all the way up to about 12.
Yeah.
How do I find it? It's difficult. Would it be triggering? Yes. Would I spot the signs? I would like to think that anybody that works with children now not only would spot the signs, but would have the ability and the courage to step up and say, we are all mandated persons.
Yes.
those signs can be very, very slight. They can be more serious. They can be outright confessions. I would like to think that anybody in their professions today would step up and do the right thing. It has been difficult working with children. I'm not going to lie to you. There are times, especially around the sexual abuse, that, you know, a child will come up and hug me and I'd be struck by how small their little bodies are and the mechanics of how a child could be abused. It hits me personally, not the child, me personally. It, like, they're so small, they're so tiny, they're so trusting. But the other side of that is working with children allows me to be a child. It actually allows me to play. And anybody in this situation will tell you one of the hardest things to do is to connect with your inner child, because your inner child has been so badly hurt that you do not want to feel those emotions. Those emotions were overwhelming for a child.
Yeah.
They're overwhelming for an adult. And being given the experience of being allowed to play on a daily basis with children is definitely healing. It is definitely healing. It's definitely, you know, Lego, Barbies, painting, messing around with Play-Doh, getting your hands dirty and stuck in, engaging in like role play and fantasy play with them. It's, you know, it's healing in itself. It's amazing. It's difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. There are days when I have to step out of the room. But yes, it's amazing. It's absolutely. It was once actually. I was in a room. We were in with toddlers, and one of the girls in the room, she was talking to a child who was missing their mammy, and she was saying, "Oh, you're here with us. You're safe. You're loved, and your mammy will be back later." She was giving the big speech to the child, picking them up, and the child was really, going for it. But the word "safe" caught me, and I burst out crying. I actually burst out crying.
Yeah.
Because the children in the room are safe, but I was never safe at that age, never safe. So yes, it's very, very difficult. But the other side of it is the difference you're making and playing with a child and the healing abilities it brings working with children is amazing. They never cease to flabbergast me, children. They're so creative and wonderful little beings. And when you actually sit down and talk to a child, it's wow. It's, they're telling you their daily lives and everything that's going on. And it's just wow. And it is healing. As much as difficult as it is, it's very healing. Very, very healing.
My grandmother used to use the phrase, out of the mouth the babes.
Yeah.
And like that, listening to a young child, the innocence of it, and it's fantastic.
Because in this day and age, let's face it, between like lives are busy enough, parents work, there's phones, tablets, TV shows, everything's going on around them. For most children, they don't actually get to sit down and have a conversation with those around them. And when you're there and you're sitting down, you're having an actual full-blown conversation with a 3 or a 4-year-old, it's amazing stuff. It really is amazing stuff. It helps you realize, first of all, like what you missed out on as a child. But then how fantastic they are and how capable they are and how they make it through the day is just wow. Wow. We're still, like, as much as we talk about the healing journey and still getting to know ourselves, we're still learning about the processes of the brain even today, and we're still learning about the processes of childhood even today. And like, as anybody who has studied will tell you, a theory is just a theory until it's actually put into practice and proven. And a lot of the things on childhood, if you look at Piaget and Bowlby and all the rest, they're theories. But when you see them in practice and in motion, they're fantastic. They're fantastic.
What does it mean to be really healed for you?
Oh, I don't know. What does it mean to be really healed? What does it mean for anybody? Like I said, it is definitely a linear experience. I don't think there's any one point where you go, okay, I'm cured. That's it now. I'm finished. I'm cured. Put me in front of the scientists. I've found it now. Here's the eureka moment. I am cured. There's no such thing. When you're dealing with complex post-traumatic stress or complex trauma or complex abuse or any kind of abuse, I mean, even the smallest, it will stay with you for life. It will. And your trauma, what you focus on and what you need to work on, will change as you go through life as well, whether it's having children, whether it's working with children, whether it's you know, seeing your own children and have relationships. It will change as you go through it. So I don't think there's any one point where you can go, look, I'm fully really healed. What you can say is I'm learning through this process. I am, and I'm learning every single day. And if you're like me, you might be a bit slow to the learning and only realize at 47 years old that yes, you deserve this. You deserve this life. But you are learning constantly, and to heal is to learn. Own your trauma, grow from your trauma, and move through your trauma, because don't be trying to get rid of it. It's never going to leave you. That chip in your shoulder, you can fill it in with polyfiller, but it's never going to be fully gone.
Yeah.
Own it, move through it, and grow from it. Put your experiences into practice, and where you can find joy in this life, find your joy. Whether it's building a fort out of teddy bears in your 40s, or just taking a moment to be with nature, or whether it's that one really nice thing that you want from the shops, or maybe it's just a sweet treat. Find your joy. Find your joy and live your joy and experience your joy. Because this life, you're only here for one. You don't have to let your trauma rule it. It's you might own your trauma, but your trauma is not you. It's
Yeah.
not you. It's not who you are. You are you, and you are magnificent, and you are wonderful, and you are special. And even if those people in your life around you at that time didn't see it, you know it.
That's right.
Continue to shine. And no matter what's going on right now in your life, same stars, different place.
Yeah.
Someday you'll look at those stars and you'll be in a different place, whether it's emotionally, mentally, or physically a different place.
Yeah.
What else can I say?
I love it, April. Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
powerful story. Keep shining bright. Be that beautiful shining star.
Thank you.
And you're an inspiration to many children and to the children that you work with as well. For everybody that tuned in today, thank you very much for listening to the Really Heal podcast. And that's all for today. We'll be back shortly, witches. And if nobody told you today, the Mouse Williams loves you.